we're getting more revenue than we are
Absolutely.
users.
That's a better way of doing it, I think.
Hey guys, we're gonna count down from 10.
Clock.
Good evening and welcome to the March 12th meeting of the Community Development Advisory Committee. We'll be calling this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Hopefully everybody had a good chance to enjoy today's beautiful weather. We've got roll calls. We have 4 members today absent with notice. Chris Soares, Steve Derbyshire, Jagger Benman, and Wendy Marshman. We've got a recommendation to approve the agenda, the March 12th, 2024 Community Development Advisory Committee meeting agenda be approved as circulated. I need a mover. Brad, and seconder Stephen, or Puffman. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Approval of the minutes. Recommendation of the CDAC meeting minutes of January 9th, 2024 be approved as written. Mover. Councillor Panwer, seconded by Councillor Puffman. And so I guess we'll start on unfinished business. First part, community events program application evaluation.
Thank you. We received communication back from the remaining community events program applicant. They have told us that they will be not applying for funds this year. They've informed us that the tractor pull event, the board has decided not to hold the tractor pull event, so they, due to the manpower and so on, so they feel that a single event wouldn't be of value with regards to an application. I know Paul has reached out to the group as late as today or yesterday maybe, and we haven't heard a response. So how the committee wants to advance with that, I'm unsure.
Councillor Puffman.
Thank you. So I guess my first question is, was that the tractor pull event committee itself or the Melbourne Fair Society?
It was the Melbourne Ag side.
So that means they would not be submitting an application at all?
That's correct.
Any other questions? Councillor Panwer.
So, do we have the total of everything that we've approved? Have we, where are we at in terms of how much money we had budgeted and how much we spent?
If you can give me 2 minutes, I'll find that for you. Please don't play the Jeopardy theme song.
I was just going to start whistling it. After I finished my Valentine shopping. Apparently.
Stop.
I can add in the communication with Melbourne Ag Society too was still to encourage them to apply despite the fact that they're not holding the tractor pull. They still do plan on holding events, so just because they don't have a high grossing singular event, I said it would be good for them to apply for, say, their next largest event that they plan to hold. So that's the communication we're still waiting to hear back from, whether that's something that they plan to do or not. But as it stands, they don't plan to submit an application.
While you're doing that, Rob, just a follow-up. So everybody else that applied, we approved, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's the number you're gonna get, okay.
So we have available to us $54,900. That's what was budgeted. We currently have approved $29,762. So you have about 25,000. Just double check that. You have $25,138 remaining.
Mr. Feldman?
Then I would make a motion that we forward the request to council that we provide $10,000 to the Melbourne Ag Society, even though they're not technically conforming to the policy, which is why I'm forwarding it to council for approval.
I'll second it.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none. Moving on to,
All in favor?
oh, sorry,
Yeah,
all
we
in
can
favor?
vote.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, moving on to 5.2 cricket pitch programs.
The number, I want to say a few months ago, I want to say it was before Christmas, a letter was received by council that was directed to this committee with regards to the interest in a cricket pitch. So we brought the letter forward. Staff at that meeting had mentioned that there had been some conversations with a group, with that group in particular. And I know Paul has been reaching out to a gentleman that I believe is spearheading it, and with regards to developing some programs and so on. So I'll pass it over to Paul in case he's got more details than I do.
I don't. Easy said. The communication has been still, the interest exists. They're going to update with the number of people that they do have interested. They're still expecting, from the communication, they're still looking for a pitch that's dedicated to cricket, and that's not something that we currently have available. So until we have a space that we can dedicate and make adjustments to accommodate cricket, then I think they're probably still going to be using baseball diamonds that are free on weekends.
Mr. Wilsey?
I know we've talked about a cricket pitch needing a big area, but also I'm wondering if there's other ways of looking at, like we do in soccer, like half-size fields or different size fields, or what other options there are. Maybe it doesn't have to be a full size. Maybe there's I don't know enough about cricket to say if there's a 3/4 or a half, or like half-court basketball, something along those lines where we could fit it in. Because from what I'm aware of, for a cricket pitch, it wouldn't fit on a baseball diamond, but if we can play on a baseball diamond, that's a lot less land than what I thought a cricket pitch took.
A full-size cricket pitch is 5 acres. We have worked with our open spaces consultant, and they've drawn up 2 different scales. One is 5 acres, and I believe the other one's 3.5 acres. They can play a modified game, so it's not a true cricket match. So it would be modified on a ball diamond. That's not, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, this is not what the group is looking for. The group is looking for a dedicated pitch. And the last time we did our research, the closest pitch is in London, and the next closest pitch is in, I want to say, yeah, like Mississauga, the Toronto-ish area. So if we were to build one, would they come? Probably, but again, I think we need to do a little bit more digging in around in regards to what can we provide them on existing lands. Can we take a cricket pitch? Can we take 2 soccer fields that are side by side and reduce a cricket pitch down to, fit on those soccer fields and still use it for soccer when it's not being used for cricket, right? So we're a community, at least I believe, that it's growing, but are we at that point where we're having dedicated sports or fields for different sports when we can have a combination? But
Mr. Wilsey?
Have there been any thoughts given or come up from this group, or they're willing to fundraise to do something through the PTP where they would purchase land or equipment, or I know it's just marketing and I don't know what else is needed, but
Go ahead, Paul.
Thanks. I can comment to that. We have approached them with fundraising. They've stated that their ability to fundraise, there's a willingness for sure, but the ability to raise the funds to provide what we're looking for. The biggest catch to this is the actual pitch. And that's, so size, they're willing to be flexible, so it doesn't need to necessarily be a full-size field. They're playing on baseball diamonds, which are not even close to the size of what they play on. And I do believe that they use flight-restricted balls to accommodate for that as well. But it's dedicating a pitch to bring the legitimacy to the game is the catch to this. And they're not cheap, and you've got to put it in. And if we're going to multi-use a field, that's where our catch is coming as well. So to be able to multi-use it as a soccer field and a cricket pitch is going to be extremely difficult because of what the pitch brings. It's, again, the dimensions I don't remember offhand, but you're probably about 22 yards, I think, for the pitch, and it includes, at the very least, chip and dust, I think, Darren. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Ideally, a lot of places are putting in cement pads for the pitch, and then having the wickets and all the pieces that go with it. So that's the stumbling block that I think we're really on right now, is a spot that we can dedicate and use it safely for multiple sports. So. And it's expensive.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Pelton?
How long has the group been playing cricket for here in town?
I'm gonna leave that up to Paul.
Officially, I can't give you a time. We've been in talks with them for over 2 years.
Yeah.
They've been playing longer than that here.
So if you may, I'm going to share my screen. I'm so on Zoom so often anymore. Not sure if you can see that. Okay, so this large circle is a full-size cricket pitch. London, Ontario has a cricket pitch that only comes out to where my cursor is now. Brampton is a little narrower, but the actual cricket pitch is out here. That is a soccer field and a half. So on the cricket pitch in London has a cement pitch with AstroTurf infill, so the field doesn't move. You can do a cricket pitch where the circle gravitates around, so when you wear down the pitch, you can move it. So it's on natural grass as opposed to on infill turf. So so using it in combination with a soccer field could be done. The area where the pitch is going to be continually worn down, so soccer won't really enjoy it. We would have to remove the soccer nets every time there's a cricket game. Like, it just becomes some logistics. But the visual that you have here is up at the high school. So whether or not the high school would be prepared to, let us use their 2 fields to create a cricket pitch, and then we share our soccer fields with them for their programs. I'm not sure if that's an option or not. There would still need to be work done on this property, because the way the fields are built, there's actually a little valley between the 2 fields, so for drainage and so on. It's also built on clay, so it's not really a great smooth surface. Darren, you might be able to provide some further information on that. Those fields that for the school are not irrigated. The ones that we play soccer on, and the Gemini, are irrigated. So I don't know, Darren, if you got any more
Yeah, no, it's definitely a field that would need some topsoil and sand mix and regrading to accommodate this, so.
Sherry, did you still have a question?
I guess my question was around kind of like, what does the maintenance look like for a field like this? Like, is it similar to maintaining soccer fields, or is there a completely different maintenance plan to it whatsoever?
Not, if you're just going natural turf, the maintenance isn't going to be much different. We'd still roll, aerate, overseed, fertilize, that kind of stuff. The challenge you're gonna have is where the pitch, if you use natural turf and you move the field around, it'll be bringing back that worn down turf if we don't have irrigation. Because once it gets beaten down, you need to aerate it so you can release the compaction in the soil. But if you don't have water to water the area to bring the grass back, it's just gonna be dead grass. If you use an infill turf where the field stays status quo, then there's some different maintenance that needs to be done with the infill turf. But it's not a huge area of infill turf, so it would be manageable.
Any other questions, comments? Moving on. Oh, Councillor Copeland, sorry.
I guess I'm just thinking about the history of some of the sports things that we've seen develop. You know, if my recollection is correct, we did not pay for the irrigation of the soccer fields, most of the soccer fields that are used in town. Is that correct?
Correct. There was a partnership with minor soccer. Yes.
Yeah, and so I think, you know, given the budgetary challenges that we're looking at the moment, you know, I think either the group has to have a longer track record, or you know, they need to come up with some solid plans to how they can help develop either a field in the short term or in the longer term, because I know that minor soccer didn't do it overnight either. Yeah, I have a hard time suggesting that we as a municipality should bear all of that burden ourselves for any sport, let alone this one.
So the other thing that we would like, I think, as a department, is to see some youth programming developed so we can help build the case for a cricket pitch, whether the community helps fund it or not. Currently, right now, it's primarily adults who are playing, from the petition that we received. So one of the things with soccer is they had a huge youth movement that assisted with all of that fundraising, right? So you have 700 kids, you might have 350 parents who are now helping fundraise and so on. So I think we'll continue to reach out and see if there's some form of programs that we can develop to increase the interest in the community with regards to cricket, to help them build their base. But I don't think we're here looking for this committee to recommend to council to spend money on this. This is just more of information.
Well, one other question, if I may. So I seem to remember reading in the former reports that some people were using football fields, soccer fields. Is that?
Sir?
That some places were using football fields rather than soccer fields. Is there a difference? Which of the two is actually bigger?
You can play football on a soccer field. So the Cuddy sports field down there with the lights, that's a regulation football field and a regulation soccer field as well. So you can play both sports on the same field.
Karen?
Just specific to this layout, you're actually only impacting one soccer field at that area, not two. Just
No.
from a playability standpoint, you are, but from the cricket pitch itself and the concrete pad, that would be centralized in the second field. So you could virtually have still use of both fields, but only impacting one directly, just with the cricket. So.
questions, comments? Okay. So we're moving on to reports of the committees and departments. We have a recommendation here that the reports from committees and departments be received for information. 6.1, the PTP, list of projects.
So I will share my screen again. So at the last meeting, asked everyone if they had any ideas or any projects that they wanted added to this, to let me know. I didn't receive any. There was a direction from the previous meeting in January to add a dog park. I did not add that on the list that was sent out to you folks, but it's had recently been updated, so it is on the current one that you see on the screen. We've added the cricket pitch, which was thrown on as a PTP project, and then there was a Trail of Lights, which is the lighting of a trail during the Christmas season. So again, looking for partners and stuff to do that. We started a small one up in Sensory Park this past winter, but we'd like to look at expanding upon that. So, don't know if anyone has any comments, thoughts, or.
Councillor Pammer?
Yeah, I've been asked to follow up with you about the community garden by the Rotarians who had set aside money for that project, whether it's going to go this summer.
So I'm, based on the budget process, I'm going to say it's probably not likely going to be a go this year. We have drawings and site layout from for the site that was approved at this committee, but there were no funds identified in the capital budget to do it. We can do some work with the PTP funds, but I don't expect that the program itself will be up and going. We're too late in the season now to get the garden boxes built and so on. So the overall design we have yet to have costed out. It would be built in phases if we were to do anything with it. The Rotary Club, if my memory serves me correct, was $10,000. So we have $20,000. So that might be part of the project, is if we can come up with a design that everyone's happy with. I know there were members who were interested in building them, the boxes themselves. So that is a way that we can start the project this year and then have planting in the spring of 2025.
Just to follow up, so how much money is available for this year, 2024, for PTP projects?
Currently, $40,000 is set aside in PTP funds.
And none has been allocated?
None has been spent to date.
Or promised, like?
Or promised.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
Just, so then with Rotary, Rob, will you be following up with them about getting started this summer and then hopefully next year? I mean, that even gives them another year to, perhaps they can fundraise even a little bit more to make up the difference, but get that out for 2025?
Absolutely. So we'll have some designs done up with regards to the garden boxes. We presented the concept to the Accessibility Advisory Committee at the county level, and they really liked what they saw because there was a lot of wheelchair accessible garden boxes, which provides that ability for those with mobility challenges, the ability to have a garden as well. So they were very complimentary of it. So we're in the process of getting designs done. Once we get those designs done of the boxes, then we can share them with the group and we can start constructing. So we'd be much further ahead this time next year.
Are we making a motion for this to the council?
This has already gone through council with regards to the Rotary Club donation and the PTP project. So there's $10,000 donation and a $10,000 matching funds from PTP.
Councilor Campbell?
All the questions tonight. So how does the committee go about allocating the 40K?
Let's say that, sorry again.
So we have $40,000 to spend through that. So this is my first time on this committee. So what is the process to move a project along? How are we going to spend the 40,000, I guess is my question.
So Councillor Pelkman can provide some history to how the program originally started, but how it's been moving forward as of lately is we always have groups come forward and say, oh, we want to do this, is there any money? Or we want to do this, is there any money? So the idea was that we would formulate a list, that we would have pre-approved projects. Then groups would come forward and say, we've got $10,000 to go towards community garden. Great, community garden's on our list, right? Or we've got $50,000 to go towards a basketball court. Okay, great, we've got, availability up to 40,000. We've already spent 10, so we only have 30 available. So that would have to go to council, and council would have to approve the allocation of the money. But it's through these projects that are identified and finding partners to match up with the projects. Now, if a group comes forward and says they've got money and it's not on our list, we can always talk as a group and then present the idea to council, and it can get put on the list. Does that make sense?
So if nobody comes forth, we don't spend the money?
Correct. And that's what happened last year. I think we spent about 6,000 last year, I think it was, for the movie screen.
There was some for the pickleball stuff too for.
Oh, and there's pickleball, yeah, that's correct too, there's pickleball funds as well.
Yeah, I'll just add, the origination of it was with the Communities in Bloom project, and the accusation, and I'll say it was an accusation because it was, at the time, was that council had nothing to assist groups. They would come forward with ideas and council would just say, sorry, it's not in the budget, or we're not gonna help. And the origination of the PTP fund was so that we had a pot of cash to help, but it wasn't gonna be spent unless there were partnered funds to go with it. So there was a bit of a point in time that I think if you were looking at around the statue and the cenotaph, that maybe some of that was partially community driven, but or municipal driven, but it really did initiate with the statue project coming forward, and then just saying, well, if we're going to do this, then let's look at doing it properly, and so then we approached the IOD to see if they would assist with the renovating of the cenotaph, but for the vast majority of the projects have to come from the community first, and then the municipalities there to assist. And there's been really no timeline ever set. Somebody could come in September with an idea, and if we have funds available, then we can help. But if we don't, we gotta wait till the next budget cycle.
Councillor Wilsey?
With other budgets, if we don't spend the money over the year, it's typically gone into a reserve fund. What happens with these funds if they're not spent?
It will go into a reserve fund. It doesn't go into a PTP reserve fund. It goes into a general reserve, I'm assuming. I'm not sure which one. You'd have to check with Bill Dakin on that.
Sherry?
So back when we approached the idea of the feminine hygiene products being put into like the public washrooms and stuff like that, it's now been put on this list. So are you requiring somebody to actually sponsor the unit itself that's going to go into, you're needing a community partner to come together with that to make that project happen?
It is one of the projects on the list. We have, since the list has come out, we have acquired some feminine hygiene product dispensers, which are about $4,000 a unit. And based on the number of public washrooms that we have would be significant. So we have a few units that we've put in our busiest facilities and have been providing that service already. But if we want to expand the service, then we'd be looking for partners with regards to that, because the units are not inexpensive.
Okay. So, there's a number of units that are already done. I don't frequent a lot of the public bathrooms, so I wouldn't know that myself. But is there a way of like allocating like how many more you would have to do? Like, can we find a number that we can?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We can come back with a goal if that's what you're
Yeah.
thinking about.
Well, I feel like that's probably where some of this needs to head, is if you are looking at like allocating certain funds to certain projects. Like when you look at picnic tables, benches, garbage cans, those are very quick. Like I know some that sounds like it should be quick. I know sometimes it doesn't end up being quick. But it's one of those things that like that's a lot less of an expenditure than some of these other bigger options like bleachers for sports courts and stuff like that, right? So if you're wanting to get things off the list, is saying like a priority list might work better.
So we have ranked these in the past. The problem is doesn't matter what we rank them. If someone comes forward and says, I've got $5,000 and I want to put it towards that, we're not going to say, oh, that's not high on the list, we're going to do this. So we don't rank them anymore. But we can we can identify the number of dispensers that we would like to have. It doesn't take long for that, $3,000, $3,500 mark to all of a sudden be 30 grand. So, because I think of like just the Gemini alone, there's the family washroom and the women's washroom. So there's 2 units right there. West Middlesex, you've got family washroom downstairs, female washroom. So there's another 2 or potentially 3 units in that building. Like it adds up quite quickly. But we can identify other facilities. Like Caradoc Community Center doesn't have one yet. This building doesn't have one yet. So we can do that. That's not a hard exercise to do at all.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Moving on to new business, registration updates.
I'm going to pass that one over to Paul.
Yeah, we'll give you the rundown of everything we've got going right now. We always seem to tend to start with camp. Our numbers are 1,717. Just to throw perspective to that, last year we finished with 1,610, so we're already 100 over last year's registrations and continuing to grow. So with a target of around 1,800 to 1,850 that we expect to see for camp registrations. And when I say that number, that's pretty much a number that is at the tip of the glass that we can manage with the staff complement that we have. So that'll be something that we'll in the future have to look at to see whether if we want to expand the program, we're going to probably have to expand staffing. Good to note as well, we have 406 people on the wait list, which is more people than we had in our first year of camp, which was 352 registrations. So again, you can see that demand continues to stay there with over 2,100 people that would be registered if we didn't have a wait list. So going really well there. We're in the recruitment stage with that as well. We've hired a portion of our leadership team and started some of our camp counselor interviews as well. So that's well on its way. And we had a high intake for camp applications this year too. So good on that front. We've opened aquatics this week as well. That opened up yesterday, and we already have 332 registrations for that. So that's off and running as well. 31 already on the wait list. So we pushed up our registration dates. Usually we start the beginning of April, but we're going to continue to push that closer next year, open it up even earlier so that we can get ahead of the curve and actually have a registration before we do our recruitment so that we know what we need to hire for. We got our spring rec programs are on the go as well, so those registrations going well. I think we've got 150 of those, with a bunch of drop-ins too. March break is happening right now. Our registration's pretty much the same as last year, maybe down a tiny bit, but still really good numbers. Winter registration was way higher than it's ever been. Once we do all our numbers, we'll probably be about 200% higher than we were last year, and that's about 3,000 visits. So you can see from where we've been and where we're going, it continues to grow, and that demand is out there. Probably put a big shout out to pickleball for the registration incline. Yeah, we've also started some new programs. The walking program in Mount Bridges is going really well. The pickleball, again, in Mount Bridges. So we are using the Caradoc Community Center a little bit more with programming than we were before. The reference of PTP being the lines that were put down last year are certainly being put to use. So again, shout out to the PTP program, it's working. We started another exercise program in our STEP program, and it's sold out. So we're chipping away and trying to, again, trim the fat with programs that aren't working and add new programs in to make sure that we're hitting the mark with what people are looking for. So going really well. Cornhole is another program that's growing with us as well and getting some uptake. So again, finding new things, and we'll keep chipping away at whatever the community wants.
Thanks, Paul. Any questions or comments for Paul? Sherry?
Just wondering if you had an update on like how Family Day activities went between Strathroy and Mount Bridges, because we didn't have a last meeting last month.
Yeah, they went really well. Really good attendance in both places. I don't have those numbers, but I want to say it was, I remember around 300 in Strathroy and a little bit less in Mount Bridges, but not a lot. So.
Excellent. Anything else for Paul? Questions, comments? Okay. Moving on to 7.2, upcoming special events. Easter egg hunt?
Yeah, I just want to mention that the next event that we have is March 30th, Easter egg hunt. It's in partnership with the Optimist Club. Member Brad might be able to share a little bit more information on it, and then the next event would be the night market, which is on May 18th.
Brad?
Yeah, thank you. As far as skewed numbers for last year, we had 425 students showed up at the Easter egg hunt, and this year we got 2 bicycles being donated. One by Canadian Tire and one by Doug and Marion, so it might even be bigger than last year. So we're hoping to get face painting done again inside the arena. So yeah, we're pretty well ready to go anyways. Pick up the chocolate tomorrow.
Excellent, Brad. Thank you. That's it for special events. Okay. Sorry, Councilor Palmer?
Regarding the market, I believe there was a survey done for the vendors at the end of the year. And I'm wondering, it would be interesting to see what the vendors were thinking of to see the results of the survey.
Can certainly bring that back to the next meeting if you'd like. Kate would have that information. I don't have it readily available, but a survey was done, for sure.
And then also, we just don't get a lot of stats and reports on the market. So I'm assuming, I know it's hard to count people, but if we could get those as sort of, so we can, what stats you would have regarding the market, numbers of vendors, and I don't know how you used to do a count in a kind of a weird way, Rob?
Yeah, so during COVID, we were required to do counting, so the cost to run the market was a little bit more money, because we had a bunch of people counting. But what we would do is what police do when they're doing crowds, is they kind of take an estimate, a number of people in a certain area, and then multiply that through the space. So we can look at doing that again moving forward with regards to that. If we do have an increase in volunteers, we might even be able to pick let's pick 6 weekends a year where we have people stand at the entrances and just take count of people coming and going from the market. So we might be able to do a combination of both things.
Councillor Wilsey?
Just as an idea, I'm not sure if there's security issues or anything with this, but I do know, just playing with my own security camera at home, there's an AI plugin I can put in that gives me a people counter to count how many people walk by, and it'll count people on the street or cars by, and you can count all of that automatically without a person. If we have a security camera on the front of the town hall, I don't know what privacy issues are that, but that would be, if that's something we could do.
Not
just
so
a
much
person counting.
privacy issues as it would be security issues with regards to the network. I don't know, there's been 3 or 4 municipalities lately that have been hacked in our region, so there's quite the clamp down on what we can add to a system. I've been looking at doing digital thermostats that I can control through Wi-Fi and so on, and it's not as simple as we'll just go out and buy a Nest. We're looking at something that's much grander than that. So could we do it? Yes. We would have to get security to give us that green light, but I think you'd need more than just the one camera on the front of Town Hall, because the majority of the market takes place at the north end of Frank.
I'm thinking there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 entrances. Yeah.
Councillor Cranmer?
Yeah, so just as a comment, I just would like to see the market on here the way we have all the other activities that the municipality does, because it is now run by the municipality, not by an outside board. So I think I would like to see it stay on here more in terms of getting that information, changes, events, feedback. I don't know whether I know you got feedback from vendors, whether you get feedback in some way from shoppers or market attendees too. I think that all of that would be, I'd appreciate having it added on to the committee work.
Yeah. That's not a problem. We can make it a standing item on the agenda. We can also gather, we garnered a fair amount of comments and information when we had the staff and council booths out there in the market as well. So some of that information can come to this meeting as well. So that's not a problem.
Paul?
I can give you the update that we do have 55 vendors signed up for the market currently, and with the events and market assistant position, that's something that will be focused on keeping numbers for the market as well, so that we'll have that information to report and add as part of our report data.
Just a comment too, Rob, you might want to look into maybe trail counters. That might be an option for something like this. You may not get exact numbers because there'll be people walking on lines, but you would get a picture of the increase of people in the area. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Going on to 7.3, cemetery monument audits and maintenance.
So with council's approval of the cemetery assistant last fall, we have been with the spring-like winter we've had. No offense. I don't know if I should be saying that quite yet because we had a snowstorm on Sunday and I was sunburned on Monday. Staff have been going around and conducting what they refer to as an audit. So the cemetery is broken into several different what they call surveys. So this, the survey that they have completed, just recently completed, was from, I want to say it's 1862. And so they go through and they determine the size of the monument, and you can see across the top where it gives you, an A is 1 meter, B is 1 to 2.5 meters, and C is a 2.5 or greater. Rock mean does it move back and forth? Has the joint failed on the monument? So if the monuments are not one solid piece, there are sometimes it can be up to 7 or 8 sections. So when they talk about that is if the one piece of the monument moves off of the other piece, that means that seal has failed, the joint's failed. Then they talk about a lean greater than 5 degrees. Force, so does the monument move under 35 pounds pressure? Then that gives you the risk. So risk 1 is immediate danger, 2 is reevaluate in a year, and 3 is reevaluate in 5 years. So out of the 1862 section, 4% of the monuments, or about 11 of them, are priority 1. I think it's 161 monuments are level 2, and the remaining would be a level 3. So, albeit not a huge number of monuments needing to be dealt with immediately, but a significant number of monuments that have to be revisited next year to ensure that they are still in a safe condition. This survey only equates to 11% of the overall monuments in this cemetery. So they've got a lot more work to do. So bear with me for a second, and I can show you. That doesn't pop up the way I want it to. So that would be considered a priority 1. So it's got a greater than 5 degree lean on it. It has this joint here. You can move the monument back and forth. So there's nothing holding that headstone to the base other than sheer weight. There may be a pin in there as well. But if a kid was to run through the cemetery, that could easily be knocked over. And now that's the monument repaired. So what they need to do is they have slings. They pull all of the monument apart, lay it down in pieces. Then underneath the main stone here, this big piece of stone here, will be a foundation. That foundation could be made of concrete, could be made of just pea gravel, could be made of clay brick. They don't know until they start digging out underneath that main piece. So what they do is then they'll take some gravel, throw it in the base, build up a bit of a foundation out of gravel, and then we use limestone screenings in what they call a grid force, and it's just looks like a honeycomb. And then they pack that all down and set the monument back on top of it again. So they have repaired about, I want to say about 11 monuments since the fall. So that's on top of all the other works that they've been doing as well. So I've got a whole slew of more pictures, but in the essence of time, I won't bore you with them.
Any questions or comments? Rob. Moving on to 7.4, advertising strategy.
So this has been, and Paula, you might want to jump in, Darren, don't be afraid. If you're, we've talked about advertising before. One way we looking at increasing our revenues within our community services department is to increase our advertising. But we need to do that, we need to increase the inventory of space to advertise on. So we're looking for some direction with regards to is there an appetite to start advertising in the sports fields and in the parks? Is there appetite for doing larger type of advertising in the arenas with backlit signs or digital display boards? If you were to go to a private arena, every wall space in a private arena's got an ad on it because it's revenue generation. Typically, municipal facilities have avoided doing that, but it is a significant revenue generator. So, you know, talking about elevator doors, talking about the inside of the elevator doors, talking about all of the exterior glass, maybe the glass at one end the end of the rinks that no one stands behind. So there is a multitude of spaces that we could actually advertise on that we've been avoiding doing inside buildings, but specifically outside, not advertising on fence lines, light posts, and so on, because the councils of the day weren't supportive of the fence line advertisings and so on. So we've avoided doing that. We just want to know what does the playing field look like now? Are we able to come back with an inventory of ideas and we narrow it down? Is there restrictions on what we can sell advertising on? I want to say it was the city of Sarnia did a study and they actually were going to sell advertising on the employees' uniforms. Not saying we're going to go there, but they did do a study. So it's kind of like the whole transit thing, right? But anyway, just looking for some input. I don't know, Paul, if you want to add to this or.
No, you hit them all. I was actually going to say the uniforms just to be smart, but you took that away.
Councillor Pammer?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to explore. I'd rather see we sell advertising space on a field than increase kids' rates, you know, or around a pool. You know, I'd rather see if we could generate income that way rather than raising user fees. I do think that we should have a policy, an advertising policy about who could advertise. Might want to be restricted if things like tobacco, alcohol, adult-related product, things like that.
Yep.
So we probably would need some sort of policy because you could get into hot water pretty quickly on that one. In addition to, I think it would be helpful to see some potential sites in terms of what you guys as a department would be putting up for sale, so to speak, or up for rent.
So one of the great things with the addition of Jesse, our communications person, he can superimpose some images on fence lines and on walls and so on. So we can actually kind of get a visual of what it could look like. So we can work towards that. With regards to an advertising policy, we have a guideline. It's not a formalized policy. So that's something that we can easily pull together and have in front of council to get approved.
Paul?
The one thing, and Rob touched on it, that I think is good discussion to have is digital advertising, because it opens up the possibilities of what we can do. It's not a stagnant advertising. Like our rink boards or other things that you'll see in the community. And it allows us to also explore the options of video as well. So it's something that we can use to promote more than just an advertiser. It could be our programs, it could be our facilities, it could be whatever we look at. So.
And that type of arrangement we could just be a third-party receiver. So future signs, as an example, we have a big display board in the lobby of the Gemini, and we get a yearly income off of that board. We don't sell the advertising. All we're doing is providing the hydro to the sign and the space. So there may be other opportunities for us to look at those. You don't make nearly as much money as if you were to be selling the advertising yourself, but selling the advertising also takes up staff time. So there's a saw-off point there. But
Brad, did you have a question?
Yeah, just, well, it's actually what Paul was just mentioning. The electronic signs, to me, is the way to go inside the building anyways. You're seeing that more and more, and you can't get overkill. That's the only thing we just have to watch. I mean, the Bowl Diamond, you see some that have the signs all the way around. It just gets junky looking after a while. So, but certainly electric signs, 100%.
Councilor Buckman?
Yeah, I like the idea of creative ways to sell advertising. I know in the past when we were not so supportive around advertising, because we were in direct competition with some of the user groups that were in our facilities, and that was why we decided not to pursue it as a municipality. But the world's changed, and certainly the possibility of the types of advertising have changed. Like you said, the doors of the elevator are a fantastic example. I know we have stuff on our elevator doors about social distancing and coughing into your elbow, and never would have thought that would have been a possibility even 6 years ago. So I'm certainly not against creating a policy. I just don't want us to be, again, in direct competition with whoever else is selling advertising. But I think at the end of the day, if we need the revenue, then we should probably be looking at it.
Councilor Palmer, did you have something?
No.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Will this be something we would keep advertising out of Parkland? And maybe focus more on the buildings and
so I think what we'll come back with is a bit of a program on what it could look like. I see advertising at sports fields. I don't necessarily see advertising at our local playgrounds. I would see it at sports fields where people congregate in larger numbers than inundating, mom with the 3 or 4 kids going down to the local playground.
Sounds great. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move to 7.5, the 2023 Community Service Update.
I'll try to go as quickly as I can with this, if I can find, there it is. There we go, okay. So, annually, we go through and we pull together our program registration numbers, our facility utilization, and this year I threw in some, just a list of the different community partners that we currently use or partner with within the community. So the department has been looking at expanding the public's expectations. So smaller communities tend to have smaller expectations. Over the last 10 years, we've really come a long way from not providing recreation programs to just being a facilitator to offering the suite of programs that we currently do from youth all the way up to seniors. It goes to show the registration numbers that we're providing quality programming, and that's what the residents are looking for. And our residents have high expectations. And again, our registration numbers show that we're meeting those expectations. So the department goal is to increase regular utilization of our existing facilities. I think as we go through the slideshow, you'll see that we've done that and continue to do that. We expand on our program choices. As Paul said, if the public wants it, we're going to try to do it for them. And then we're also looking at how do we explore other programming opportunities, revenue streams. We talked about advertising as a one model tonight. And then we want to be building on our community partnerships. I think we have a pretty solid foundation, but those partnerships now need to be nurtured. Because if we don't nurture those partnerships, they can go sour. And then we're back to square one again. So ICE, that previous slide is just the three of these all pulled together, so I've separated them out. So this is ice and floor usage. So this is the year-round usage of the West Middlesex and Gemini facility. So you'll see, the 20, 21, 22 years, we consider those the COVID years. And although they make up part of our data, we don't really focus on those numbers because they're just going to be low due to the nature of what was taking place at that time. But you can see 2023's number for year-round has exceeded again, so we're on that upward trend. Same thing with the green pad and the blue or the West Middlesex. This that all fluctuates depending on how well a hockey team does within the playoffs and so on. So that fluctuates. The other thing too is in 2023 we pulled out some ice early for the AORS event that took place at Gemini.
What's full utilization, Rob?
Pardon me?
What's the full utilization? Like how many hours would it be fully booked or how many are available? Because you
So-
know how many we're using but not what's available.
Yeah, so I haven't put that in here because it depends how you want to define that. So if we're looking at primetime usage, which you'll see coming up, but daytime would totally skew the availability, right? So because daytime ice, we have all kinds of time available. So if you were to look at the next slide where we have total winter hours, and I go to prime time, we're about 96% booked there. The ice time that we have available is typically 10 to 11 o'clock at night. So I don't have the exact number, Greg. The prime time ice is the one that's the easiest one for me to give you the example of. But if we go back to total hours of winter ice, you'll see the blue pad again. We're just shy of 2019, but still on an upward trend. Same thing here with the green pad at 2037, and then West Middlesex, a significant increase in usage because we also had lacrosse and there was another activity that took place. Ball hockey has been taking place now as well in the summer times. So I quickly hit the prime time. Prime time is going to be pretty stagnant because we've always been 92, 93% used. Our prime time ice is 5 o'clock till 11 o'clock, Monday to Friday, and then Saturdays and Sundays all day. So we'll start booking the ice at 6 o'clock in the morning, or not 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday till typically I think our last rental is 10 to 11. Back in the heyday of the industrial leagues, we used to have ice going till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's before my time here. But we experienced those in the facilities that I worked at. And those leagues are long gone, and I don't see them coming back. So the gym and the Westcast room, so the orange is the gymnasium. So again, you can see 2019 was a good year, but 2023 is competing with it quite well, much better than the previous years. Same thing with the Westcast room. Again, it fluctuates. A lot of it depends on, you know, if we have a tournament. If there's a tournament that hasn't happened, that would have a direct impact on the usage in that space. Caradoc Community Center is where you see the greatest increase in usage, and that's primarily from us now offering, and the residents asking for, recreation programming taking place in the Caradoc Community Center. 21 and 22 had no usage because it was the health unit utilized it, but you'll notice that the facility is much more. Now, that doesn't equate to significant dollar increases because a lot of the programs, like the walking program, is free. That is inside the or inside Caradoc Community Center. The pickleball program would be, the revenue there is shown in recreation programs, not in the usage of the facility. Camp registrations, again, it continues to show increases pretty much across the board, whether it's winter, March break, PA camps, or summer camps. Same with recreation programs, and a lot of that, we've offered different programs, we've introduced and canceled other programs. Pickleball pushes a lot of this with regards to program registrations. But again, we're servicing a fair number of people across the municipality. And then the aquatics programs, swimming lessons. We need to build more pools if we're gonna bring more people in. It's just the way it is, but that's probably the same way with hockey. We could probably rent out more ice time Monday to Thursday between the hours of 5 and 9. I think you can see that anywhere in southwestern Ontario. Again, our aquafit and lane swim programs, you'll notice that there was a bit of a flip-flop in, so aquafit was not as popular in 2020 and 2021, but that's because lane swimming was what you could do alone. Aquafit, you were in a group of people, so we had limited registration. So it's just interesting how people just gravitated from one to the other depending on what the conditions were at the time. And then memberships is something that we introduced in 2022, and it seems to continues to grow. Just I threw these slides in with regards to the catchment area. I think, and it's important to know that our swimming lessons are 45 minutes long. You have people who are driving more than 45 minutes to come to a 45-minute lesson, and they're not going back home again. So this may be a way for us to work with the BIA to encourage, maybe it's discount coupons or whatever, I don't know how we do it, but is there a way that we can try to attract those parents who are taking their kids who are at the pool and get them downtown for a coffee or to go shopping or so on. It still amazes me, and I know that we get just, these one-offs from Manitoulin Island and so on, that's grandma and grandpa, but it still amazes me that they come here to spend their summers and they're utilizing our programs. And then same thing with camp, right? The draw that we have for camp is pretty significant as well. We had someone from the States last year. And then our community partners. So we have a number of community partners. The Horticultural Society has been a partner with the municipality since 1944. They assisted me in the maintenance of 8 of our gardens, which equates to a half of a full-time employee. So about 10,080 hours. So they do provide a service to us that is very valuable in maintaining and keeping the gardens that they take care of, rather than staff having to do it. The VON, which runs programs in conjunction with the municipality for seniors, our Progress Through Partnership program, our 3 school boards that we have a joint use agreement with, so the Christian School, the London District Catholic School Board, and the Thames Valley District School Board. The YMCA's worked with us on the Grey Cup event. They do use the pool for their summer camp program. In the past, they used to rent the Scout House for summer camp program. And then another item that's been a huge success is our community event sponsorship program. I believe Kate has surpassed what she's already had last year. If she hasn't, she's very close to doing it. So that's fantastic. And then the different service clubs that we work with, whether it's the Rotary Club, the Lions Clubs, or the Optimist Clubs. So I could have listed all the projects, but we'd be going on for pages. So it's important, I think, that we mention these groups because they assist us in providing services to the community that we wouldn't be able to provide otherwise. And they're very beneficial to the Community Services Department. So, not sure if anyone has any questions.
Councillor Wilsey?
Just to bring up some of the things that we were talking about that kind of were hinted on, where we talk about user fees and the cost for some of these facilities going through budget. There have been a few residents who came up and asked me a few different questions. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to them. I just want to ask them here just so that they're in public and we can get the same answers out. One of them, from what I've looked at, is when we look at whether it's arena or a swimming pool, they're typically covered around somewhere around 1/3 with the user fees. The comments I've heard back from that, from some people saying that the pool fees actually completely cover our outdoor pool, which they do not. Just want to get clarification of that and confirmation. That was one thing that I'd heard I wanted to clear up. The other thing is that a lot of the users, or not users, the people who pay the taxes, they're wondering, as part of that conversation, if the user fees could go on to just so they could reduce the tax burden for the people who don't use the facilities. And then maybe that money could go towards infrastructure or something else, which is that's bigger than this meeting, but just an idea of maybe increasing our target of 1/3 of things being covered by user fees and sponsorship to maybe try to get it up to half the cost of the facilities with advertising, user fees, or some mix of extra revenue, just to reduce the burden on the people who are not using the fees. Because everyone's paying for a baseball field. I don't know how many people play baseball. It's probably not half the people who live in the town. Same with skating and everything else. I know a lot of people do use it. And a lot of people here are centered on that because they're focused on it, but there are a lot of people who don't actually skate, who don't play hockey, whose kids live in different communities, and they're still all paying taxes for this. So just wanted to have that out, see if Director LeBrun could talk a little bit about how much user fees pay for it, and see if we could set a target for revenue to present the council as something to look at for user fees and revenue from this department to cover the facilities.
So if you look up on the screen, what I refer to as cost recovery is what the percentage that we recouped from user fees and other fees. So it may not be just user fees, could be advertising dollars, could be pro shop rental, that kind of stuff. So aquatics is, we budgeted a 31% cost recovery in 2024. We aim for about 30%. In 2023, the budget was 27, but we came in at 34. Arenas, our goal is between 50 to 60%. Last year we budgeted 56. This year we budgeted 58, but we came in at 63%. Cemeteries, Caradoc Community Center, again, is that 20 to 30%, 25 to 30% cost recovery. In 2023, we budgeted 30, we got 17. This year we've budgeted 20. Cemeteries, we're 43% cost recovery in 2023. Community development, we budgeted 73%, we came in at 60. This year we've budgeted 86%. Now, we're gonna be collapsing those budgets in 2025.
What's community development?
Community development is special events, progress through partnership, that, okay? The market, we budgeted, so the cost recovery is 100% in 2023 because we didn't have any taxation. This year we've applied taxation to it, and one of the reasons why the motion was made to collapse the market and the community development budgets together. Recreation, we budgeted 66, we came in at 70. This year we've budgeted 68% for recreation. The library always comes in at 100%, there's no taxation applied to the library. Museum, we budgeted 2%, we came in at 15. We budgeted 4%, I expect to come back in at about 15 again. The reason that you see the large swing there is because we don't budget for the grants that come in. Typically there's a CMOG grant, which is the Community Museum Operating Grant. There's no guarantee you get a grant, so we don't budget for that grant. We usually get it towards the end of the operating year, so that's why you see that large swing. Now, parks is a bit of a misleader here, where it says we made 13% cost recovery. We're in the throes of trying to break down what it actually costs us to operate sports fields. So we know how long it takes us to cut a sports field, we know how long it takes to aerate, we know how much fertilizer we put down. So we're going through trying to figure out what it actually costs us to operate a sports field. And then our goal at one time was 25% cost recovery on sports fields. I'm not sure if we're there yet, but it wasn't, Councillor Pelkman, 9 years ago we introduced user fees on sports fields. Sports fields were free up till 9 years ago or so. So to go from zero money to at least 13%, I think we've moved the bar a little bit. And then the Scout House, in 2023 a cost recovery of 71%, we realized zero, and we're budgeting zero. In 2022, the YMCA used to rent the Scout House in the summertime. They are no longer renting the Scout House for their summer camp program. So I'm working with the Scouts. We're going to pull a proposal together to present to this committee with regards to some revenue generation in that facility. So, because $1,000 is better than $0 if we can come up with something. So, just thought it was important that we share that, just in light of the conversation that you're having there. With regards to user fees, every few years we do survey when I say probably about 50 different communities. I belong to a large email group, and we always source out everybody else's fees. We haven't done that this year. I think we did it 2 years ago, Paul, just at the end of the pandemic. It's time we do it again. So we typically don't want to be the cheapest, and we don't want to be the most expensive, so we've always tried to fall in the middle. And that's where we've been. If there's different direction from council, if council looks at us and say we want aquatics to be 50% cost recovery, then we need to look at our revenue model, which the only revenue model on that in the aquatics program is user fees. So whether it's swimming lessons or public swims, they would have to go up. Concerns that we have around swimming is it's a life lesson. If you don't know how to swim, you drown. We've had 2 drownings in our pool, successful recoveries, but they're still drownings. So it is something that we do, don't want to discourage people using our facilities because our fees get too expensive. Keeping in mind, not every resident uses the facilities that are being they're being taxed for, so.
Any questions, comments?
My only comment around the aquatics was, first I was gonna mention the safety factor. I think we have to be careful about the affordability of using the pool, that it doesn't become only those who, have money. In the event of a heat wave, people who don't have air conditioning because they probably can't afford the air conditioning. And I know we have the splash pads, which is at least is an option to cool down. But I have a hard time justifying in my mind that the aquatic program is something that should be a cost recovery milestone, so to speak. I think the affordability piece, especially in the light of what has happened with the housing costs, any single parent that has multiple children is going to really be struggling. So we need to be able to have things that they can do in this town that they can afford to do. So the ice, I don't have so much of an issue with that. As long as public skating remains affordable, to be able to play a game, if you can, to me, that's something you can raise the rates on without concern about those who can't afford, because they're probably not playing the sport anyways, but they should be able to get out on the ice and learn how to skate, but not necessarily play a game. That's just my thoughts on that.
Any other questions, comments? Brad?
Yeah, thank you. I do remember 9 or 10 years ago when we did put those fees on, my phone never stopped ringing for a while. So I can tell that actually happened. But being involved now with the senior games like I am, I was in Goderich last week and I'm in St. Mary's tomorrow, trying to book facilities up. And everybody's charging user fees. I can wheel and deal a little bit here and there, but everybody's doing it. Right even to a meeting room. It was $40 for a 2-hour meeting in Lucan. Just to give you an idea. Could have got it free at the library, but the Legion was $40. So everybody's charging, it's not unusual.
Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, I still do like the targets, and the reason I think about that for the pool, to counter, I think we could probably do sponsored public swims like we do sponsored public skates too. I think that's another option for affordability. But if you think of the pool, you can't fit hundreds of people in the pool. So if somebody's going down, there's only, you have to correct this, I don't know what the number is of people who can currently swim.
You can have over 300 in the pool.
300 in the pool?
Over 300 in the pool.
So even if you compare that to the population of Strathroy, it's not everybody who's going there. There's a very select group that can go there anyways. So I really think that we probably could set those fees up and then do the same system like we do with public skating, where it's a sponsored open swim, and that would be another couple run of you.
Councillor Palmer?
Going back to a comment that Rob made about safety, I know there's been other, communities or countries where swimming lessons is like part of the school curriculum because it's such a vital safety issue. And I think we have to keep that in mind too. But I think adult aquafit, for example, isn't a life-saving activity. Maybe that could come up a bit. So maybe there are different things, or the competitive teams, swim teams, but I would be, hopeful that we could look at keeping at least children's rates at affordable rate for A, to encourage them to participate and learn to swim, but B, also for families with limited means. It's an affordable activity to do with your kids over a long summer if you're at home with your children. So just a couple thoughts.
And I don't disagree with any of that. I didn't want to get down into the weeds with setting what rate's going to go up and what's going to not. I'm just using user fees as an entire category. I want to leave that up to the director with how to do that, but I would like to see that a higher recovery if we can.
If I understand correctly, because I had a quick conversation with the CAO today about cost recovery items. User fees can be part of the service delivery review, I believe. So that may very well be an opportune time for us to evaluate what our user fees are. Are we where we should be? Are we on the industry norm? Are we on the high end? Or are we on the low end? Because you can get to a point where you price yourselves out of the market and people just stop coming, and then $0 is $0. So we need to be careful of that as well. Or people start going to the neighboring municipality to get their services because it's cheaper to do so. So we need to be cognizant of that as well. But let me further check with the CAO with regards to the, if we can capture an overall kind of user fee study or per se in the service delivery review, because I wasn't part of the writing of the RFP, so I'm not exactly sure all that was in it. So.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. So moving on to 7.6 then, Mount Bridges Lions Club proposal.
So, accept my apologies on this one. This one slipped. I should have had it on the. If you got the agenda originally, it didn't have it, and then I slid it in a day later because I forgot about it. The Lions Club has come forward, and they would like to partner with the municipality. Their involvement in the program would be to solicit the artwork. What they want to do is get kids' art put on banners, and then the banners be attached to the poles on Lions Park Drive in Mount Bridges. So there's 10 poles that go down Lions Park Drive from Adelaide Road to the sports fields. The Lions Club Mount Bridges would work with the school, select the artwork that would go on the banners. The municipality would be responsible for paying for the production of the banners on an annual basis and the hardware that goes up. I haven't costed out the hardware that goes up. The banners are probably going to be about $1,500 or so to $2,000 annually. That's based on a $50 a banner, and that's what I paid a couple years ago to get some banners produced in the downtown cores. I've reached out to Integris, who owns the poles on Lions Park Drive. They have indicated to me that they would prefer not to do that. If we were to do that, they would have to get into what they refer to as a joint use agreement. The poles would have to be engineered, so they'd have to have an engineer look at all of the poles. So I'm waiting to get a response back from Integris if there's going to be a cost associated with that engineering design. I would anticipate there will be. So I just wanted to bring it to the committee and let you know that this is something that's kind of boiling in the background. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to execute anything for 2024, simply because how long does an engineering study take on some hydro poles? I don't know. So this may be a 2025 project, but at least we've started down the path.
Councillor Palmer?
What was the Lions Club, Mount Bridges Lions Club, contributing to the project?
They were going to organize the artwork.
But no financial contribution?
No financial contribution. This could be a PTP project if you wanted to make it a PTP project.
Any other questions, comments? Councillor Pelton?
Just wondering what you're looking for at this point from the committee.
Nothing really, because there's so many loose ends, primarily with Integris at this point. I got to get costing on brackets and so on. So this will come back as some unfinished business. And I'll try to get a more formalized proposal pulled together. This is just an email that I received from the Lions Club a while back. So.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Councillor Taylor?
If you're gonna communicate back with them, this is just my opinion, I would like to see them make a financial contribution to it. I mean, PTP was supposed to be funds matched or some sort of contribution. I mean, I appreciate the work in coordinating with the schools, but it's gonna be quite costly for the banners and the hardware, so perhaps we could ask them if they could make some sort of financial contribution to the cost of the project.
I can reach back out to them. Before I do that, I kind of like to know what the true costs are gonna be, so, because that may determine where the project goes.
Any other questions and comments? Okay. Good discussion tonight. So we'll do inquiries or comments by members, starting with Councillor Pammer.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Puffin.
Nothing to do, thank you.
Paul.
Just for anybody watching on TV, just to clarify, I know the buzzword or scary word of drownings that was mentioned earlier, just to clarify that there were no deaths involved. They were successful incidents of saving lives, so no drownings, no dead people, all good. And just to clarify, 339 is our capacity for the pool.
Thanks, Paul. Darren.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Brad.
I just want to put an appeal out to anybody out there 55 years of age or older. You do qualify for the Ontario Senior Games. We've got 30 of them locked down now, and I got 5 more to go.
Thanks a lot.
Show of hands.
We need players. That's the thing. If you're a golfer, if you're a tennis player, or
I'm not there yet.
we need you. So get in touch with me. We'll get you on our. You can get some practice time in, and then you play off in a district, which is Perth, Huron, and Middlesex. That's what I look after. And then if you win there, you go on to the regionals, which is down to Windsor, and back up through us to London. So should be about 500 seniors running around for a couple days in June, and then about 800 to 1,000 running around in July, the big tournaments. 55 and older, you can make it.
Excellent. Thanks, Brad. Councillor Wesley.
Looking at you.
Nothing further tonight.
Okay. Cherry.
Just want to comment, I attended the ladies' night that the Strathroy Lions had put on, and bravo, that was a sold-out crowd of a very loud room of women. The food was really well done. It was exceptional, and the decor and everything was really, really nice. Everybody just seemed to have a really great time and camaraderie and everything. And yeah, I felt like it went really, really smooth, and it's a big undertaking for that group to put that on, but they did really, really well with it. Yeah. And I also wanted to mention the Mount Bridges Optimist is also hosting their Easter egg hunt on the Saturday, March the 30th as well. They're doing in the morning, as I noticed Strathroy is doing theirs in the afternoon.
Lots of time for chocolate then. All right, thank you. So the scheduling of meetings, are we looking at Tuesday, April 9th at 7 p.m.? Okay. So I have a recommendation that the March 12th, 2024 Community Development Advisory Committee meeting adjourn at 8:33. I have a mover. Councillor Puffin, seconder. Brad Richards. All in favor? Thank you.
Came up with